This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
This feels good to be back. It has been far too long. I'll say this. I was out for surgery. I don't personally want to get into what happened. It was not a fun experience. My second surgery in under 2 years living in Texas. But I am so thankful to be back and doing the show. And I am doing it from bed, Strohs. Maybe a little bit different. But I'm excited to be back and talking sports with you. And also, I'm not going to say the words you put in our rundown, but also, are you a petty blank?
We'll say Mike Hunt, a petty Mike Hunt. By the way, you look super comfortable right now, just all relaxed in bed.
Yeah, I probably lay down more than is advised, normally, like, even without surgery. I just like laying in bed. When I'm at home, like, now, ever since I added the TV in my bedroom back in, like, July, I don't leave my bed when I'm chilling at home unless I'm playing video games. But anyways, Strohs says Bob Quinn is going to go down as the worst Lions GM ever. That means worse than Matt Millen. I think it's interesting. I don't agree. We're going to get into that. Also, again, in about 15 minutes, is Strohs petty? And then finally, a take that is not super uncommon, but I can't say I understand it. Strohs, you don't like the 17-game schedule. We're going to get into that. But first, I'm really curious. Like, I know what you're going to say, but I want to hear you explain the thought process behind the idea that Bob Quinn is the worst general manager in Lions history.
So not even in Lions history, in Detroit history, I think he's going to go down. The further and further we get away from his era of being at the head of the Detroit Lions, I think we're going to see and we're going to realize how bad he really was at his job. And that even includes him going up against the likes of a guy like Matt Millen, who has an 0-16 record to hold to his name. I think what we're going to find with Bob Quinn and the way he ran everything with this Detroit Lions organization will make him the worst at his job ever. Not only did this guy run off the winningest coach in Lions history, which is saying something, the winningest coach in Lions history, which is saying something, right? And I think we both understand that, right? I think we both understand and get why there was a change and why he brought Matt Patricia in,
right?
Because that was his guy.
I absolutely cannot kill him for firing Jim Caldwell. I just don't think that that's fair.
I just think on paper that looks bad, right? That in and of itself looks bad. And then the coach that you bring in can't even have a winning season. On top of all that, the coach you brought in really split that locker room and really drove a lot of the good talent that you had out. Now, underneath Bob Quinn's watch, you also had the crumbling, dismantling, albatross of a relationship breaker with Calvin Johnson, who is arguably one of Matt Millen's greatest draft picks that he's ever had. The Hall of Famer was forced to pay that money back, and that sat poorly with him. I think at the time we both understood it.
I want to push back there, though, because they did the same thing with Barry Sanders. To me, that's not I don't think you could blame that on Bob Quinn at all. The Jim Caldwell stuff, I'm not personally gonna criticize him too much for firing Jim Caldwell, but I understand it. Mm-hmm. I think his fatal flaw was Matt Patricia, so I'm all aboard that train. But I think it's unfair to blame Bob Quinn for what happened with Calvin. I don't think that was his call. And maybe it was. Maybe I'm wrong. But when a franchise has a history of doing it with an all-time great, to me, that screams it's an ownership problem.
See, I think at the time, I think that was a huge Bob Quinn call, because I'm trying to remember exactly how it all really played out. And it seemed like it was Bob Quinn saying, yeah, this is me doing this. This is me going about this. And this is going to be me, basically making this call. And at the time, the way he explained it was, we get to save this much money against the cap. And I think the way all of us looked at it was, yeah, we need that money for the cap, because at the time, the cap structure wasn't very good for the Detroit Lions. I think the one thing me and you talk about often,
right,
with Bob Quinn, is he did a really, really good job handling the finances of this team. He put this team in a position where they could go out and be spenders in free agency if they chose to do that. He always did a really good job with the books. Where he didn't do a good job was, one, with the relationships with the players, two, selecting the players that he selected, and three, picking the coach. The coach, that falls on him. And I think we both agree Matt Patricia's arguably one of the worst Detroit Lions coaches to ever hold the position here.
Yeah, I will sit here and I will bash him for the Patricia hire up and down. The only thing, and I actually think you've missed an opportunity to get deeper into player development. Not development, but selection.
Oh, I haven't even got there yet.
Because the one thing Matt Millen didn't have that Bob Quinn did is a quarterback. You know, Bob Quinn struggled with a franchise quarterback. Whether you or not you think Stafford was good enough, there's no arguing he was significantly better than anything Matt Millen had. The two things don't compare. And he was given Matt Stafford. He didn't draft Matt Stafford. So to fail to succeed despite that is something that should fall at the foot of Bob Quinn. And I do hate the Matt Patricia hiring, but I think that I'm always going to be hesitant to crush any GM for any coach hiring simply because they're such a crapshoot. And I think, I mean, maybe this is unfair. I think there was reason to like Matt Patricia. I know Patriots disciples have failed, but at that time, I think you could argue at that time Bill O'Brien looked like a good hire still, or at least an acceptable hire. And things had changed in that defense in New England in the time that Matt Patricia was there. Like they hadn't been quite so multiple in terms of like, you know, being able to switch 3-4, 4-3, whatever they needed to do before Patricia. It's something that I personally thought Patricia played a role in. Clearly, that's not the case. He's left, and the Patriots continue to do that. Mm-hmm. I don't think I don't want to say it was a good hiring. It wasn't an insane hiring. I do think there was probably too much faith there to sit there and let it ride with him, but I'm not sure how much of a choice he had. I'm not sure he would have been allowed to pick another coach.
Oh, I don't think he would have been allowed to pick another coach here at all. I mean, obviously he was let go. But I think you brought up player selection, and I was working my way there. So looking at his first draft, at Bob Quinn's first draft, he drafts a long snapper in the 6th round, right? That long snapper, which is funny, but that long snapper never seen any playing time. Like that was a wasted draft pick.
I think that's more comical than actually problematic. I mean, it's not a good thing, but I don't know. It is pretty comical that he took a long snapper in the 6th round too. Like, you don't think that guy was going to be there as a priority, free agent?
For sure. Exactly. And then, you go to the following year. You had the Tease Tabor pick in the 2nd round.
Oh man, he had some bad draft picks. He had some bad draft picks.
That draft gave you the tight end Michael Roberts, who never really panned out. Also gave you your other backup quarterback, Brad Kaya, who never panned out. There's 3 blown draft picks in that draft alone. Now, the following year, 2018 got a little bit better. That was your Frank Ragnow. Kerryon Johnson, if you liked it. I never liked that draft pick. Tracy Walker looks like he's going to actually be a player in the league. And then you get to 2019, where you draft a tight end, 8 overall, which I had a big issue with. TJ Hockenson might turn out to be a
still
Hall
in the
of Fame,
air,
right? Might turn out to be a Hall of Fame tight end. We'll see what happens.
I don't know how tongue in cheek you say that. It's way too early to judge. I just think to this point, TJ Hawkinson's done everything you could have hoped for.
Yeah,
I don't think you could reasonably have asked for more.
And look here, it's not even so much with the player; it's just the position at that spot. That's my big issue with it, right? So like, good teams don't draft tight ends that high, right? And
but if they're Travis Kelce or George Kittle, it's worth it.
Right, but those guys were like, what, 5th
Yeah,
round?
no, I didn't like it either. I
remember being at the draft party with you, and I was ready to strip down.
Yeah, no, I didn't like it either. And I just think he's done enough. TJ Hockenson has done enough to like, not criticize him yet, if that makes sense.
Correct.
But no, his draft selections were brutal. His free agency selections were brutal.
Hold on. We didn't even get to Jelani Tavai. Like, I remember when Jelani Tavai was drafted, I was at home and I was like, who is this guy? Like,
I was driving home from Grand Rapids to Detroit, and I texted Jim Costa. It made it on the station's Facebook page, and I think Twitter as well. I texted Jim, convince me not to drive off the road right now. I mean, that was absolutely, like, I remember because I was listening on the radio. I remember listening to them say, "I had a 6th round grade on this guy," and I'm just like, "What the fuck?" Yes. Player 152 on my big board, taken at 37 overall, and it wasn't 37, but wherever it was just like, dear God, it was brutal.
But what about all the draft capital being invested in your favorite position, running back? How many how many second round draft picks are invested in a running back? Not just that,
the Lions?
Multiple draft picks invested in running backs in the same draft.
Dude, it doesn't matter who the Lions GM is. Running back in the second round is a given. Who's the best second round running back available this year? Because the Lions are going to fucking take him. They all do, man. Martin Mayhew had that problem too. I don't know if Matt Millen did. I'm just going to pretend he did.
Here, I've got Matt Millen's drafts pulled up.
Well, I don't want to get.
I wanted to look just to make sure. I don't think Matt Millen. Oh, you know what he did? I think he took Kevin Smith in the second round.
I want to see he was a 3rd round pick.
Was he a 3rd round pick?
I'm not confident. He took Kevin Jones. Maybe Kevin Jones was a 3rd round pick.
Kevin Smith was a 3rd round.
Okay.
Kevin Smith was a 3rd round.
First, wasn't he?
Ah.
I think Kevin Jones was a 1st.
I'm looking.
Either way, the point is, it's just the Alliance thing. But I want to take my first opportunity, because the thing is, I can sit here and do this Bob Quinn bashing with you. Like, he wasn't good enough. He was bad. And I think a lot of your takes are brutal. And I don't agree with this one, but I really see where you're coming from. Maybe the thing that ruins it for me is how long Martin Mayhew did. Like, he had the position for so long that maybe he was just able to dig himself a deeper hole. Maybe with more time, Bob Quinn takes that title for me. But like, Strohs, look at that 0-16 team that Martin Mayhew crafted, and it's honestly artwork. Like, seriously, these are dudes who like primarily had no business in the league. And it was just, and Rod Marinelli, the coach of that team, brutal. I mean, apparently he's a good coordinator, but brutal. That's the one thing I will say. That is the one, is maybe if Bob Quinn was given the amount of time to bury himself that Martin Mayhew had, maybe I look at things differently. I'm sorry. Yeah, Martin Mayhew. Shoot, I think Martin Mayhew might be a god. I'm incredibly curious to see what happens in Washington, because when you look back at it now, boy, does he look like he did a lot of things right.
Like, I'll be honest with you.
How much is that going to suck when Washington wins a Super Bowl with Martin Mayhew as the general manager? It's funny because I'm rooting for him, but that is going to fucking hurt.
I mean, look, you remember, like, we did the rewatches, right? And like, we'll at some point we'll probably get back into that, but
it changed my view of Martin Mayhew.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. It's where I was going with it. Like, he could spot talent, and you could see what he was trying to build. On top of that, you had a little bit of a character issue, didn't really scare you. Now, maybe it probably should have in the case of a guy like Titus Young, and maybe even a guy like Mikel LeSure, but it's what it was. So, like, I don't know. I just think as we kind of move along and you see what a guy like Brad Holmes is able to do and how he's able to conduct himself as an actual general manager, it makes Bob Quinn look so starkly different and look like he's so far in over his head that even Matt Millen looks semi-competent.
Oh, I feel like that's being generous, but I follow your point. I hear you. I don't agree with you, but I can respect this opinion, and that's saying a lot for your opinion. All right. Speaking of respecting your opinion, Strohs, you want to know, I don't even know, you don't want to know if you're petty. You do know you're petty. You just wanted an opportunity to share stories about being a shitty person.
Well, okay. So you need to tell me if I'm a shitty person, all right? That's where I think we should probably go with this, right? So let me lay it out for you. You've been to my condo complex.
Yeah.
You've basically seen, there is the spot parking for the people who reside here and pay their mortgage or rent their property or whatever. You got your number for your apartment or your condo number painted on the cement. And that's where you get to park. That's your parking spot. And then everything else, there's parking. There's like actual, I think it's 8 spots right behind, what would be my parking spot. Behind that, there's 4 more. And then there are 2 other spots along the right side of some other parking. So there's parking everywhere.
Yeah, no, when I parked there was 30 open spots. Like, I mean, obviously that's an exaggeration, but I didn't have any thoughts about, oh no, where am I going to park?
Exactly. So a couple weeks ago, I was probably about 4 at this point. I went to a golf simulator and I played a couple rounds with a couple of my buddies. And then after that, we went out, had something to eat, had something to drink. And then I was trying to get home before a UFC fight because the girlfriend enjoys watching the UFC fights. And I've got a way that I can watch them for free. So I was coming back from the bar and, she got here before me and she was like, hey, just so you know, somebody's parked in your spot. Now, I want you to understand, this isn't the first time somebody's parked in my spot. People park in my spot all the time. All right. The lady who lives underneath me, her kid shows up to pick up their kid, and they park in my spot all the time. Now, normally I'll just kind of pull in, I'll wait a few seconds, they'll come back out, they'll back out, we'll wave at each other. It's annoying, but it's what it is. You're courteous.
Right.
All right. The guy who lives across the hall from me, he's got fleets of cars. Like, there was a brand new Corvette that showed up 2 days ago, right? It was a yellow, I think it was like a 67 Stingray. Badass. And he has a fleet of cars. So depending on which car he's taking out, he might sometimes utilize my spot to run back into the house, come back out, gets in his car, wave. It's annoying, but it's what it is.
Would you do that stuff?
No.
If, like, you got to run in real quickly.
No, I'm not parking in your spot.
I ask because, like, my gut says, while I would be annoyed if I was you,
mm-hmm.
I get it and I'm not overly bothered by it, but I would never do it.
Right. So, like, I'm not doing it. There's
short of an emergency, in which case, like, you know, if it happens once a year, I don't think you'd care.
Right. I'll be honest with you. It's annoying just because usually I'm under a time constraint, right?
Right.
I have to record or I've got to get to the dog. There's always something I've got to do. So it's usually a time constraint. And that's why it's annoying. If I have nothing going on, I don't necessarily give a crap. All right. So anyways, I get home from the bar and UFC fight's already started and this vehicle's still in my spot. And I'm like, all right, cool. This is interesting. So I wait a little bit and I'm getting more and more annoyed. Finally, I say, you know what? F this. So I pull in right behind them. And I pull right up to their bumper. Like, I'm as close to their bumper as you can be without actually hitting their car. So I'm basically forcing you to come get me to move my vehicle. And I'm like, I don't know who it is. I have no idea who this is, who's done this. So I'm like, all right, well, this is kind of weird. I keep checking out the window to see if, you know, somebody's out there, if they're going to come. Like, what the deal is. Because at some point, you got to come move your car.
Right.
I go and I look out my bedroom window. I look out at my parking spot, and there is a white sheet of paper on my windshield, and the vehicle's gone. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. They must have left. So they can just pull up over the curb and drive on the grass like they did to get out. So that was what they did. I go out to my car, and I just laugh. Because on my car, there is a piece of loose leaf paper, and it says, "You're a petty C. Hunt."
Okay.
And I'm like, interesting. Now, what really irritated me about the whole situation...
That sounds, by the way, to leave that note when you're in the wrong sounds like a teenager.
Exactly. And it's not anybody in my unit. It's somebody in the unit next to me, and I have an idea who it is, and they won't ever say anything because they're a little bitch, but I have an idea who it is. All right?
Are they a child?
No.
Because, no, like, seriously, like, there's so many, like, it's one thing to do that and like, not leave a note, but to do all this, like, you are in the wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
And to leave a note that says that you're a petty cunt.
Yep.
That's freaking crazy to me. That's childish.
So what bothered me about it is, I'm assuming at the time they probably seen my girlfriend get out and go into my condo. So I'm assuming that might have been meant for her, which really makes me mad, right? Like, you're not going to talk to her that way. That really irritates me. So that situation happened. That happened about 4 weeks ago. This past weekend. So it's kind of along the same vein, but it's a little bit different now. So I'm at the gym and I'm working out Saturday morning. And I go upstairs, and here in Michigan, you have to wear a mask at all times, right? When you're working out, you have to wear a mask. So I go upstairs, and I'm doing some quick abs on one of the cable machines, and there's a treadmill area right next to that room. And there are these two people on the treadmill. Neither one of them are wearing their mask, just blatantly, just took their mask off, didn't care. I was like, well, that's really interesting. And it bothers me when you don't follow these types of rules. And I'm a rule breaker, but this is like, this is just decency for everybody else. Not for you. The mask doesn't necessarily protect you. It protects everybody else from you. All right? So whatever. I let it go. I will go into another room, continue my ab workout. They end up coming in there. They get addressed by the assistant manager. He's making some rounds. He's like, hey, you guys gotta have your mask on, this, that, the other thing. He leaves, they take it off again. And I'm like, it just bothers me. So I go downstairs, I'm like, whatever. They're upstairs, I'm downstairs, no big deal. Don't worry about it. They're in one of these little workout areas in the middle of the gym, no mask on. I'm like, this is really starting to get on my damn nerves now. They go over to the Smith machines, which is where I was at. I was performing some exercise on the Smith machine. And I was there for a hot minute. And they're there for a hot minute. And the one chick is like moving zero weight. So like it bothers me when you take up a good piece of equipment that's limited and you're not doing anything with it. That bothers me. That's one. Two, you're not wearing a mask. Three, you're videotaping it all for your Instagram and it's just bad. It's bad form. If anybody follows you, you're just giving bad advice. So I had enough. And I walked over to him as I was getting the spray to clean my equipment. I was like, hey guys, the mask works better when it's over your nose and your mouth. It doesn't protect you when it's covering your chin. And this apparently ruffled some feathers with these guys.
No shit.
This girl was about as ratchet as you could possibly be. And her boyfriend was just kind of, I think he was taken aback that somebody would even address him.
Saying it like that? Yeah. No, yes, Strohs, that would take anybody of that.
So he didn't say too much, but she wanted to kind of get up in my face about it. And I was like, look, just wear your mask. Everything's cool. Like, just do it for everybody else. Not for you, for everybody else. And I just grabbed my weights and I moved on to my next section. Apparently, they were kind of like watching and pointing at me while I was on one of the other machines. And then I was coming back to go put my weights down. And the guy, apparently at this point, his feelings being completely hurt that somebody would say something to him, stops me and was like, hey, can I talk to you? And I was like, sure, man, talk to me. Like, I was like, I gotta put my weights back, but yeah, sure, talk to me. Talk and walk with me. Let's go. I'm going this way. He's like, no, man, let me talk to you. I said, cool, you can talk to me, but I got, like, while I'm working out, talk to me. Like, I don't have time to mess around with you. So you want to talk? Let's talk. And he's like, I ain't about talking in front of all these people. I was like, oh, so what do you want to do? You want to go in the back? And he was like, yeah, go in the back with me. And I was like, how about no? Cause like, I know where this is going.
I'm not want to talk in front of all these people.
Yeah.
You got a public speaking problem? What the hell out of you?
Like, I'm not about to fight you. One, I'm too old. Two, you're going to get your ass whipped. All right. Three, at this point, my membership is free at the gym and I'm not about to lose that on you. Okay. Just wear your mask and we're good. And he continues to stalk me around the gym. And he's like, at a certain point, he's like, well, what if I smack you right here? And I just turned around and looked at him. I was like, do it. Just do it. Don't talk about it. If you're going to do it, just do it. And it eventually escalated. And one of the people from the gym who work at the gym ended up coming over, breaking it all up. I go to work out. The guy ends up coming back over to me with his ratchet ass girlfriend, starts chirping some more. At a certain point, I just end up losing it. I lose all control. And I start screaming. Everybody in the gym now knows that something is going on. If they didn't know before, they do now. As I scream, just wear your mask. It's that easy. They get kicked out. I get to continue to work out. But am I petty for, one, addressing people to wear their masks because obviously the mask needs an instruction booklet on how to properly wear it. And two, for thinking I should have the ability to, one, park in my parking spots, and two, if not be able to park in my parking spot, make it known that I would like to park in my parking spot.
So, okay.
It's a whole lot there.
I'm gonna go to the first one first, the parking situation. I don't think the route you went was necessary. It's incredibly comical. I think it was more than the situation called for, if I'm being honest. Mm-hmm. Because you saved yourself 30 seconds by not just parking somewhere else. Mm-hmm. They were in the wrong, not you. I don't know if you're familiar, Reddit has like r/am I the asshole? Where you basically have to pick who's the asshole in the situation. I think they were in the wrong, but I might say you were the asshole.
I can agree with that.
You're both kind of wrong there, but it's hilarious. It's a good story. And at the end of the day, they were in the wrong. So like, this, in my opinion, this is a case of you answered a wrong with another wrong. And no matter what your elementary school teacher will tell you, the first person in the wrong is still the bigger problem there. If that makes sense. So, I don't love it, but I'm not gonna kill you for it. The second one, they're both comical. addressing it that way, like you're teaching them how to use a mask, is hilarious. And I still find myself thinking not necessary, but I also am bothered by people who choose to do that. I think I've shared on the show that, like, I was really bothered flying when people choose not to wear their mask. Speaking of it doesn't protect you, it protects other people. I mean, from what we know, it also protects you, but like, that part's not what's important. Like, if you want to choose not to wear a seatbelt, I know it's legal, but like, fine. You want to risk your own life, risk your own life.
To me, it's more of a common courtesy, right?
Well, it's
just
like, what I'm going to say though, it's like, the reason you wear a seatbelt is to protect yourself. The reason you don't drive 120 miles an hour is to protect other people too.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that not wearing a mask is, the same as driving 120 miles an hour, but it's the same idea. You are saying that other people's safety and even comfort, peace of mind, you're saying that it doesn't matter to you. And that is wrong. And so I'm totally fine with this one. Even though it's not the way I would handle it, I'm totally fine with this one. I think you chose to be an ass about it rather than just, say it in maybe a more polite manner. But I don't have a problem with that. I do want to share very quickly, because I do want to get moving on here. Have I ever shared I'm trying to think of a way to put this. Strohs, can you imagine me wanting to fight somebody?
No.
I would say once in my life, I was ready to fight. I don't think I've shared the story. God, you know what's crazy is in my head I say yes. Okay. But the answer is no, because it happened while I was in Grand Rapids. It's probably been close to 2 years at this point.
About 2 years now, yeah.
Yeah.
That's still relatively recent.
I would say between 2 to 3 years from now. So I had a couple friends come visit me while I was in Grand Rapids. And you know this, and I think I've shared it on the show before, but I have a very, like, culturally diverse group of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an incident that I believed to be racially motivated, where my friend was like taking a picture of the coffee shop we were at. It was just like, there's a coffee shop in Grand Rapids that does flights of coffee. And it's really cool, but he like took a picture for Snapchat. And this dude just starts walking up to him and goes, "What the fuck do you think you're taking a picture of?" Like, and I could be wrong. Maybe it wasn't racially motivated, but that's how it came across to me. And
was your friend brown skinned?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's black.
Okay.
And he goes, "What the fuck do you think you're taking a picture of?" And my friend, like, didn't see him coming, by the way, because he was smoking, like, he, like, had already taken the picture, so he's, like, looking at his phone.
Yeah.
And the guy just, like, gets literally, we're sitting down, guy gets right up in his face, "What the fuck do you think you're taking a picture of?" And he goes, the coffee shop." And he goes, "Don't fucking lie to me." And he goes, "I don't, like, I took a picture of coffee shop, my man." Like, and he was totally calm, by the way. Like, he was very calm. But, like, I was already, like, I've never felt this in my life. Like, I was so ready to stand up and get right back in this guy's face. And ultimately the guy looked like a fucking idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And he, like, it ended with him, basically my friend was like, "I'm taking a picture of the coffee shop, have a nice day." And quite literally, like, as the guy walked away, I think he said, you and your girl have a good one." And I mean, honestly, it was, I only share this because if somebody had said, "What if I slapped you right here?" I think I would respond the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have said, "Do it." Like, I don't want to fight you. I'm not trying to, like, schedule a fight in the back with you. But, like, if that's where you're at, let's fucking go. Because once you slap me out of nowhere, like, I got nothing against it. Like, we're gonna fucking fight. And that's kind of how I felt in the moment when this dude approached my friend that way. Like, so he didn't approach me necessarily, but I've never, like, been approached like that or seen somebody else approached like that in any other circumstance where this guy came up looking to intimidate. And I've never, like, like the phrase blood boiling. There's not a thing, like, I was so angry and so ready to fight this dude. And that's not who I am, but holy shit, like, I can't even.
Do you feel like the inner rage just sitting in your stomach?
Dude, it took me probably 90 minutes to calm down from that incident.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember, like, driving home afterwards, and I was still frustrated. And I couldn't believe how calm he was. That was incredible to me. And I told him that, like, later on. His wife was sleeping back at my apartment. I think she was pregnant at the time. we were supposed to go out later that night, and, you know, she wanted to get a nap. And we were telling her about it, and I was like, I don't know how he stayed that calm. Because, like I said what I said to you. Like, you know who I am.
Yeah.
You know I'm not trying to fight. And, like, if that happened to me, I don't know. Actually, you know what? I think if that happened to me, I probably would have been more calm than I was. I just couldn't believe like, the whole situation. I just wanted to share that story real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The one time B almost got in a fight. Dude, I never knew that I was the person ready to throw down with, like, in support of a friend. I genuinely don't know that I'd say I'd have thought myself that way, but this guy was, like, ready to start something, and I was, if punches would have been thrown, I would have been a part of it. I don't think, like, I'm not the guy who would have, like, I also probably would have been the one to end it. Like, I would have probably tried to get it over with type of deal. Like, a couple punches, some shoving, and, like, try and stop it. Don't let it get out of hand kind of deal. Cause it would have been, me and my friend versus this one dude. Like, I mean, he might have thrown some good punches, but I don't think he would have won. And I wouldn't have letting it get out of hand. But it was a crazy experience. And I hope I'm never in a situation again, cause it wasn't fun. Sorry to, like, go off there. I thought you would like to hear that story.
You're good.
Well.
I like that story. It's a good story.
Now, let's get back into sports before we wrap this up. NFL added a 17th game. I'm surprised how many people take issue with it. I can understand, like, my thought is, like, look, it's 17 games versus 16. It doesn't make a dramatic difference. I'm not celebrating it. But at the end of the day, I love football. One extra football game, I guess it's a default positive. I don't totally get what your problem is with this.
So one, I hate unbalanced schedules. So, like, 17 games, why not go 18? Like, it just doesn't make any sense for scheduling purposes, right? So that's number one. Sure it does?
That's a pattern that you created in your mind because that's what we're used to. There's no reason you need to have an even number of games.
Okay. Like, I don't have a rebuttal for it, but
because it's like
I feel like an unbalanced schedule is it's not good. Like, it's just bad.
I get it because it's not what you're used to, but there's no
other league has an unbalanced schedule.
Right.
Baseball plays way too many damn games, and they're still even at 162.
You're used to an even schedule.
All right, one, unbalanced schedule. I hate it. Number two. All right. I think this shows exactly where the Shield itself has positioned itself in respect to its players, and where the owners position themselves in respect to the players. And it's basically you're a commodity. You're going to go out there and you're going to lay it all on line, and you're going to play 17 games, and we're not going to adjust the schedule, give you an extra bye week to help get a little bit more healthy.
I do wish they would have added a bye week.
They're not. I could be wrong. You tell me. Are they adjusting are they prorating the pay? Because I don't think the pay is getting adjusted at all.
Well, here's the thing. So the pay, though, is based on a percentage of the revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So by default, when the NFL makes more money, players will make more money.
Right, but how does that work? At least this first season. This first season is like
no, they're not adjusting. They're not. I guess I don't know.
Oh, right.
That's a good question. I guess my best guess would be they probably do prorate it just because they get game salaries. I doubt they're going to make less money per game now.
Exactly. So you signed this deal originally by these terms, and now you want to pay me less and have me do more?
That's a good question. I don't know. My guess is going to be they're going to be paid more.
So
my guess is that's probably already a part of their contracts.
And for those who don't know, the way the NFL pays you, it's by the regular season. Like, you don't get paid for preseason, and you get bonused out in the playoffs, but your salary is those 16 games, now 17 games. So those contracts are going to have to be prorated. So it's like your boss coming to you being like, hey, we're not going to pay you overtime, but we need you to stay and work at least 4 to 8 more hours today.
So
Thanks.
Here's the thing about this angle to it. One, like, welcome to capitalism. Like,
true.
Of course they don't care about you. That they care about making money. If they cared about you, they'd pay you the exact amount of money that you brought in, but then they wouldn't make money. Like, that's just, that's just the way capitalism works. Now, I am very pro player empowerment. I'm here for all the player empowerment. I don't think you're going to find very many cases, if any, where I've been pro owner over pro player. But at the end of the day, I want to, I'm in this for entertainment. The players aren't doing anything for me other than entertaining me.
Right.
And so I don't, if the NFL, I'm rooting for the players to, make more money. I'm rooting for the players to get protections. But the players agreed in the last CBA to make 17 games an option. That's something that they chose to give. And I'm going to enjoy watching a 17th game. Now, I would have liked another bye week. And I think, honestly, another bye week is a win-win situation. And I would bet money in the next CBA we get a bye week added. I think the reason we didn't get a bye week added is because the owners view that as a concession that they can give to the players as a negotiating chip.
Yeah.
But in reality, everybody wins. If you had another bye week, you had another week of regular season TV. Now, there's a few less games on every week, but now instead of, we're used to 17 weeks of football. Now we're going to get 18 weeks of football. When you add a bye week, we get 19 weeks of football. I think a second bye week is such a massive win-win that I would have liked to see them do it now, but I would bet we're going to get that eventually.
Eventually, yeah. And it blows my mind how well the owners negotiate when it comes time for the CBA, right? The players do such a piss poor job of protecting themselves and negotiating for themselves that I almost feel like they get taken advantage of by the owners who do a fantastic job.
They did get screwed this time around too, because negotiations were happening around COVID.
Yeah.
And I don't think that did any favors. I guess I don't understand, I don't have a problem with you saying, the NFL looks bad. Mm-hmm. And I don't respect the NFL as an organization because of going to 17 games. But from you as a football fan standpoint, you're going to have more fun this year.
Well, I'm going to watch more games. Obviously, so yes and no. So I'm going to watch more games no matter what. But I think this past season was a prime example of us just wanting the football season to be over, right? So now the NFL is going to punish Lions fans if this is a horrible season, and we got to give one more week. We got to give them. But no,
I don't know. I don't know if that's entirely fair. If you're done watching the Lions football, stop watching Lions football. Watch other games.
Bro, we got to talk about it. Got to watch all that.
No, dude. When the Lions are 1-12, we're not going to be talking about the loss in Week 13. We're just not. We're going to talk about storylines, but we're not going to talk about the loss anyways. So you can give me football 52 weeks a year. If I don't feel like watching it, I don't feel like watching it. I'm never going to be like, damn it, you're making me watch football. Nobody's fucking making me watch football. That's not a thing.
From a selfish standpoint, I have no idea how this is going to impact my fantasy football. And I'm the commissioner of my league.
I've got to
figure this out. And that bothers me because now I've got to figure this out.
I said this on Twitter. I think that's one of the most interesting aspects of this. Can we totally go off the rails on this topic for a minute and talk about this? Honestly, I think we can stop talking entirely about whether or not we like 17 games. I want to help you as somebody who is what platform do you run your league on?
ESPN.
Okay, so you have a relatively you have a decent amount of customization available. Mm-hmm. I ask because there's things I love about Sleeper, which is what I use, but there are aspects that they don't give you so much room for customization. So the obvious option is to add a week to the regular season. And I think that's what a lot of people will do. But here's something I find incredibly intriguing. Adding an extra week to the championship round.
See, I've played in a league before where your championship round is 2 weeks. And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know. It is interesting.
It's funny because you're so wild that this wouldn't, it's not something you'd expect to be on brand for you, but I do think there's a part of you that just, wants the traditional. So, you want the regular season to be an even number because that's what you know. You don't want a 2-week fantasy football championship.
I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, man. The problem is, and this is why it makes you uncomfortable. Right now, your average fantasy football season is 13 weeks. If you have a 12-team league, I guess no, if you have a 12-team league, You do play two teams twice, don't you? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, you do. Well, the way I have my league set up is we've got 4 divisions. You play in your own division twice, and then you play everybody else once.
Right, so you can do stuff like that. It does make those kind of things complicated. I'm actually in a 14-team league, so 13 allowed you to play everybody once.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got this extra week. Just
so
like what
that works out pretty good for you then.
No, you already play. It was 13 weeks was what it used to be. The 14th week, now you go, what the hell do we do with this? If it was up to me, I would stick it on championship week. I don't know how my league mates are going to feel about that. We've talked about it a little bit. I know some people just want us to add an extra week at the end, like when the season's over. Mm-hmm. So like end in week 16 and 17 and 18, we don't have any fantasy football. But I don't think Sleeper's going to let me do the way I want to do it anyways. Here's another really interesting idea. And you could do this on ESPN. You'd have to use a lot of, basically you'd have to do some work on your own.
Mm-hmm.
A play-in week.
So this is what I was thinking.
It's super interesting to have a play-in week.
So this is what I was saying. I don't know why the NFL just doesn't do that instead of giving us 17 regular season games. They just have a play-in week. So I don't know about you. This year, I really like the extra team added to the playoff format. So now you just have a play-in week. That team goes in as your 7th seed, and they have to play whoever.
I'm torn on the 7 teams in the on each side in the NFL because I think it does devalue the regular season a little bit, and I don't love that. But playoff weekend was a lot.
It was
fun.
So much fun. It was great.
I would say both wild card and divisional weekend become. Well, I guess divisional weekend is the exact same, right? Yeah. Yep. But wild card weekend is a lot more fun when you add that extra game Saturday and Sunday.
It was like game after game after game. Like you got it for like 2 days straight. It was nuts.
I actually think 3 games in a day is the perfect amount when they're good games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not saying all Thanksgiving games are good, but the idea of like a 3-game slate is perfect in the NFL. But again, I'm in a league that likes to get creative. And if Sleeper allowed me to do this, which I don't think it will, what I would do is we are in a 14-team league. We have 7 playoff teams. We use the NFL's 7-team format. I would love to add that extra week at the end of the regular season for you have the top 6 seeds, and then you have most points for left versus, so say like the 7 seed versus whoever's the most points for, which might be the 7 seed. But if it's not, sometimes you get someone who had a great season points for wise, but they get screwed by the schedule. I'd love to have that person battle for a chance to jump the 7 seed and make it in the playoffs.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Rather than saying 7 and 8 battle for the 7th spot, or like how many teams make the playoffs in yours?
6.
So for me, rather than having 6 and 7 battle for that last spot, I would have 6 and most points for like left battle for that 7th spot. Give that person, if you had, you just got screwed by the way the schedule broke down for you. Cause it happens. It happens in every league. You get somebody who had a really great year by points for, but they just can't make the playoffs. I'd give that person one chance to get in.
You know what? I do like that. Like, that's a really interesting idea. I wonder if I could do that in ESPN.
Yes, you can. What you'd have to do basically is you'd have to add a week to the regular season. And this, I don't know if this is entertaining on the podcast. We'll wrap this up here in just a moment. You add a week to the regular season and then you just customize it. You can customize the schedule week to week. You can change the schedule however you want to change it. And then you customize the playoffs. You take that win off, like you don't count that. You just have to do some math by hand. And it's very simple stuff.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. I used to use ESPN and it gave you a lot more ability to do that. We switched to Sleeper because Sleeper lets you trade draft picks, and that's a huge part of my league. I love being a creative fantasy commissioner. And so to me, from that standpoint, I don't know what we're going to do, but 17 games only makes it more fun. It only gives you more room to experiment and do some crazy stuff. And I'm really curious to see how leagues handle it. Let's wrap it there. It's been a little bit of a long one. I'm recovering from surgery, Strohs, okay? But it's been fun. I'm glad that we got a chance to return after what seems like, I don't know, maybe a month off.
Yeah, feels like it.
So let's do this again. Let's do this again next week. Get back into the